All right, folks, welcome back to Digging History. We're here with Mary Catherine, and she actually is the wonderful lady that has allowed us into this home and this beautiful museum and on the battlefield here at Cloyds Mountain. And would you mind, Mary Catherine, tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I had the pleasure of growing up in both of the old historical Cloyd homes. One built in 1790 by Joseph Cloyd, the other built by the grandson, Joseph Cloyd. That was in 1847. Both of those homes were used as hospitals during the Civil War. And when I talk about myself, I have to always say that because it's been so much a part of my life. But I am a graduate of the University of Virginia. I have a BS degree in nursing. I'm married and I have 3 wonderful sons and 3 granddaughters. Mainly, I like to share the history and I love nature and making things.
And you also are a very well spoken advocate for the preservation of history, which
I am.
we really push that. Anybody that comes out and does artifact hunting, they really should preserve those artifacts so other people can enjoy them. What would you say to someone that's out with a metal detector and they find something really cool?
First thing that I would say is don't go out with your metal detector without asking permission.
Amen.
For being on the person's property. And then realize that anything that's taken away from a battlefield is taking away from the history. I think I scare people, or else I kind of make them wonder when I tell them I don't feel like these artifacts belong to me, and I have no plans to say to one of my sons, you get 2 of these and 2 of those, because I feel like that they don't really belong to me. But if you do go, and if you do have the permission, of course, it's just like any other national park. Leave your memories, or take your memories and leave only what you found there. Don't take away anything at all. If, however, you're looking and you find something that is of merit or special, make sure it goes to the proper place. And maybe it's not to the homeowner. Maybe that homeowner knows where that artifact should be. But in the case of here, we request that everyone have permission and that everything that's found, even if it's a pop top off of a can, just leave it here and we'll make the decision about whether or not it should be kept.
Absolutely. So I'm going to kind of scan over here. Now, you've told me about a couple of artifacts that you found, one of them being the caisson sleeve down here. And that was an interesting find. So essentially, this was found by you in a winter.
This was found under the snow. I fell on this, and I've been told that since this particular battle, the Battle of Cloyds Mountain or Cloyds Farm, this battle was fought, of course, on May the 9th, 1864. Well, we think about that. Since the war started in 1861, they've probably been pulling cannons and caissons. And of course, the caisson is like a little compartment that carries the tools needed for the cannon and the ammunition. We're told that the reason why it's worn so much right here is because it's been pulled over the mountains and over the hills. If you look, you'll see that the nails were hand forged, and I only have 1 or 2 nails. And I sometimes say, because I want to be nice about it, that when I first started exhibiting, some folks relieved me of the responsibility of ownership of the other nails. And they say, you mean they stole them? And I said, well, that might be the way you say it. But I would sit it out and the nails were loose. And of course, some people just have trouble not keeping a souvenir. But this is documented.
Mm-hmm.
This would have been Union,
Mm-hmm.
because the house that we're in right now would have been sitting where the Union artillery would be. And there are letters that say that it was abandoned here.
So you found a lot of really cool things, and then you have other artifacts that were, not necessarily about the Civil War, but just about the history of this community.
Oh my goodness, yes. This particular newspaper that you see here, and the way the lights are shining, I'm not sure you can get a good picture.
Actually, I'm getting a pretty good shot of it right there.
That one is from 1858, which would have been before the battle, and I love the way it looks. We think about insulation, and one of our first thoughts is the Pink Panther.
Right.
We see the advertisements and we get the fluffy pink stuff. Well, this particular piece of paper was fan folded, just like children or any of us would make a little fan. It was fan folded and slipped between the hearth and the floorboard in the Back Creek home.
Mm-hmm. Sorry about that, folks.
That's okay. That home was built in 1790, and it was built like a fortress. It was built with no doorknob on the front door. And if you'd like, I can show you a picture of that house.
Beautiful, wonderful home. The craftsmanship is just amazing.
The house, excuse me for that.
Oh, that's okay. We all
I've
had the dropsies all day today. I don't know what it is.
Well, that's slippery. This house is just a fascination because it's built, and this was the second Cloyd home that I grew up in. Upstairs in this room, still today, even though we don't live there anymore, you can find bloodstains on the floor. It was used as a hospital. Here is the lock that would be located behind the keyhole opening that you would see on the front door. It's a slide lock, and this was done to prevent attacks or invasions from Native Americans, and that's because it was back in that time. The buildings there include a kitchen and a smokehouse.
So that's what a lot of people don't realize is they didn't cook in the home. They had to cook outside because of the fires.
They were very concerned that with those great big fireplaces, they could burn their house down, and so they had that. And the roof up in the attic, when I played as a child, I could look straight up and see the slate roof, no insulation, but I could also see that the beams were put together with pegs. This peg is not from that roof, of course, because we wouldn't want to take it away from there, but a building on the property fell down, and this shows one of the pegs for putting it together. You can see the barn. Virgin timbers is what they say, because the timbers are so very, very large. They didn't have central heat or air, so there's a hand-carved mantel over a fireplace in each room of the house. And then my favorite thing is the barn. The stone barn had metal rods, like a jailhouse possibly, but it was to protect people from getting in. Tiny little slits that you see in the wall called embrasures. They're shaped so that they flare out toward the inside, and that way they could be used for rifles to position for protection. Stone table in the front yard of that particular house was used for making sauerkraut. They would chop their cabbage right there, and they would use these big crocks to put them in.
That's amazing.
Now, there is so much history, but we were always told as children that there might possibly be a tunnel from this house, and you can see a bit of the barn in the background, from this house to the barn.
Wow.
And that again would be to escape there for safety. Well, I thought, as a child, that maybe the entrance to that tunnel could possibly be under the stairs in the kitchen house. But I never found that tunnel. However, to help people remember it, when they come to our home, I usually say, you know, you never know where you'll find that secret door.
Wow.
And you'll have a little passageway.
I love it.
And the children love it because I keep kitchen utensils in here that would have been used in the period, and I let them all go in behind the secret door.
They love that.
I know you have more questions, though.
Well, you know, the Battle of Cloyds Mountain, you know, it comes up as a small piece of hit, but there was so much significance to that battle. Number one, the number of casualties in such a short period of time.
Yes, and I don't know if your listeners or people will know this, but we had 2 future presidents that fought here during that battle, McKinley and Hayes. And I think that even though they were young and that part of their history hadn't developed yet, it's something to think about that both of them were right here during that battle. There was an outnumbering of folks. When you think of the soldiers, Union troops had about 6,000. Confederate troops were only 2,400. But it was a hard-fought and very bloody battle with many deaths occurring due to a fire. And they think that the fire was sparked by the dead leaves. Remember the time of year, May 9th.